himself pretend that all these online harm stuff merely has to do with issues of child pornography and so on, and that anyone who's pushing back against the online harms bill must be therefore on the side of child pornography. No, that sort of filth is already illegal. You already go to prison for that.
Starmer just flipped, now claims he'll jail every small boat migrant. Was it public fury, Trump's blunt warning, or mothers chanting "Save our kids" outside a migrant hotel? Find out why even Douglas Murray says free speech is dying while the gangs still cash in.
And outspoken commentator Douglas Murray doubled down on this, blasting the PM for his rigid stance on freedom of speech, which makes it difficult for people to speak out against immigration and censorship.
Joining me now is the author of groundbreaking works, international bestsellers, including The Strange Death of Europe, The Madness of Crowds, The War on the West, and his latest on democracies and death cults. Douglas, let's start with the state of free speech in the UK. Keir Starmer again assured the world that the UK values free speech.
What's your advice on the importance of free speech today?
Well, free speech is very important. I don't know if you're referring to any place in particular. Perhaps they are, but
we've had free speech for a very, very long time here, so we're very proud about that.
But tell me about the UK's Online Safety Act. We've got something similar happening right here in Australia. We're told, like in the UK, it's all about keeping children safe. Is that how you see it?
By the way, that answer that Keir Starmer gave there, I mean, it's just yet more robotic Starmer. That's exactly what he said the other week in the Oval Office when reporters also asked about the free speech problem in the UK. And he said in that same robotic way, we've had free speech for a very long time in the UK. Yeah, well, it can be dying on his watch. Just because you've had something for decades, indeed centuries, doesn't mean that it survives as a force of nature unless it's protected and defended in this generation. And Keir Starmer's government has decided that a priority in almost any real life situation is not to deal with the real life problems that occur, but instead to crack down on online content and much more. This has got to such a pass that now the Starmer government and Starmer himself pretend that all these online harm stuff merely has to do with issues of child pornography and so on, and that anyone who's pushing back against the online harms bill must be therefore on the side of child pornography. No, that sort of filth is already illegal. You already go to prison for that stuff. It is such a weak and pathetic attempt to defend something that is essentially indefensible, which is citizens who have said nothing illegal being visited at their homes by the police for tweets and Instagram posts and Facebook posts and so on. It's a lamentable affair. And as I've said to you before, Rita, as we've discussed on this show, the very striking thing is that all the time, the government in the UK, as in so many other countries, Australia in particular, decide that if you've got a real life problem, instead of solving it, you should go to the secondary thing of how people are reacting to it online.
It's clear that the UK is facing a crisis of leadership. This interview perfectly illustrates the disconnect between the so-called progressives and the reality of the situation on the ground. While they talk about online harms and protecting children, they completely ignore the real, tangible threats facing ordinary Britons. This obsession with online speech is a distraction tactic. It's a way for the left to silence dissent and control the narrative. They want to create a climate of fear where people are afraid to express their views for fear of being labelled a hate-monger or being visited by the police. This is a slippery slope that leads to totalitarianism. Look, I'm all for protecting children. No one wants to see children harmed. But the left solution is to criminalize free speech and create a vast surveillance state. They want to give the government the power to censor anything they deem harmful, which is a very subjective term. Who decides what is harmful? The government? Big Tech? This online harms bill is a Trojan horse. It's designed to give the government unprecedented power to control what we see and hear online. It's a direct attack on our fundamental right to free speech. And it's being pushed by people who don't believe in free speech. And let's not forget about the issue of illegal immigration. The left's response to this crisis is to open the borders and allow anyone who wants to come in, regardless of their background or intentions. This is not only unsustainable, it's also dangerous. It puts a strain on our resources, it undermines our security, and it creates resentment among the native population. These so-called progressives talk about compassion and empathy, but their policies are anything but compassionate. They are creating a society where people are afraid to speak their minds, where our borders are open to anyone, and where our children are at risk. This is not the kind of future I want for my country. I want a future where we value freedom, where we protect our borders, and where we stand up for our values. And let's not forget about the issue of Israel. The left's obsession with demonizing Israel is truly appalling. They are quick to condemn Israel for any perceived wrongdoing, while ignoring the threats it faces from its enemies. They are blind to the reality on the ground, and they are willing to sacrifice Israel's security for political expediency. The left's policies are not only wrong, they are dangerous. They are leading us down a path of decline and destruction. We need to reject their ideology and choose a different path, one that values freedom, security, and the rule of law. We need to choose a path that puts the interests of our citizens first. The mainstream European right wing understands these issues. They understand the importance of national sovereignty, the need to protect our borders, and the right to free speech. They also understand the threat posed by radical Islam and the need to stand with Israel. The left, on the other hand, is blinded by ideology. They are so focused on their own utopian vision that they are unable to see the real world around them. They are willing to sacrifice everything for their ideology, even the safety and security of their own citizens. We need to wake up and see the danger that the left poses to our society. We need to reject their policies and choose a different path. A path that puts the interests of our people